Hey everybody, welcome to the Rig on Wheel show featuring MVT. We are the first ever truck driver recruitment show. And of course, I am your host, Kameel E. Gaines, the CEO and founder of Rig on Wheels Truck Driver Recruitment Agency. And joining me, of course, is our favorite VP of recruiting, Robert Pierson. He is over there at Mesilla Valley, and I see you right there at your hometown in El Paso. So that is good. So we are here for your ultimate destination for truck driver insights, the news, hot jobs, recruitment tips, truck driver tips, all of it. So let's definitely make history together. So how does it feel, Pierson, to be like in El Paso and not like somewhere on Mars?
Oh, it's nice. I can't say that I'm missing the airport, but I'm not missing the airport. So it feels good to be here. I had looked at being in Houston, but you guys had the national championship game down there last night, making economy seats round trip into Houston about $1,200. So here in El Paso, and hopefully everybody flying out of IAH or Hobby get out of there safely. You were in quite the busy little market last night.
Yes, we were, and I'm glad that we had a storm last night, but I'm glad that everybody that got out didn't fly out literally because we were threatening tornado. So I'm glad that they flew out and not, they flew out on the Boeing instead of, natural disaster, literally. But we did have some nasty weather, but I'm glad your Michigan folk won. So you excited?
Hail to the victors! Hail to the victors!
And we were both under the weather last week, so I'm glad we feel super fantastic this week, and we ready to yell and cry and everything else, right?
Oh yeah, I'm upright, which I didn't want to do this podcast laying in bed. It seemed unprofessional, so I'm excited by that.
Oh, okay, I'm glad we talking about upright like that. I thought you was talking about dead, but
no, not that bad.
Not that bad. I was like, oh my God, we almost died. Okay, so that's good that we're not talking about death. But we can jump right into the news. Now we're not morbid. I wanted to talk about the kind of when I pulled up transport topics, like the first thing they were talking about was like the March 11th thing, and now Biden administration jumped in there, which is not surprising. It's the union administration. So they jumped in there, and I don't know if, I'm not going to say I don't have an opinion, because of course I have an opinion about everything. But I think that our government, whether red, blue, or green, doesn't always or ever really understand the trucking industry. That's my opinion, and I still stick by that in 2024. But the fact that they're having an opinion when it comes to the 1099 or the owner-operators being reclassified as employees. Now, with the American Trucking Association president, Chris Pierson, I just kind of want to paraphrase it, that basically the trucking industry has been using independent contractors forever, 90 years, and now they're trying to reaffirm and take that away, and that's going to put a detriment into our economy. And our economy is a global economy, and that's a fact. So that is unfortunate that an administration is chosen to replace a clear and straightforward standard and tangle and weaken our supply chain. And we definitely don't need that in this type of freight that we're having right now. And that is definitely going to affect the livelihood of the truckers across the country. And then they actually put on Twitter, and I reposted or retweeted, whatever. Oh, I guess it's not Twitter anymore because of Elon Musk, but X, formerly known as Twitter, that the American or ATA put on there that this rule denies independent contractors the freedom of choice, and it weakens our supply chain and undermines the livelihood of hundreds and of thousands of truckers. And that's exactly why they opposed Julie Sue's nomination before, and they'll continue. And she's the acting, Julie Sue, just in case people don't know who she is the acting labor secretary. And I kind of understand, of course, I understand the independent contractor part, so let's throw that out there. I'm a third party recruiter by trade, but I also understand her plight because she's really trying to protect the American worker, because there's so many owners that mucky the water and not try to hire people that are really employees because they don't want to pay benefits. And so they classify a worker or an employee as a contractor because of that. So, I understand, like, what you feel, Pierson.
I'm worried about the next shoe to drop. So every time one of these stories comes out, it's the next thing that I tend to be worried about. Our industry got a challenge on that end from AB5 out of California, really pushed by Lyft and Uber. And there's going to be a lot of laws that come down the pipeline that are really intended for Lyft and Uber, nothing to do with trucking, but we're going to get directly impacted by it. And I'm torn here. You want to make sure that a quote unquote employee is treated fairly and has everything that they're coming to them. On the flip side, the independent contractor is a valuable model within our industry, both in terms for the companies that utilize them, as well as the actual independent contractors themselves. We've talked about this previously, where there's about 75,000 companies with DOT numbers, and of that, 90% of them have 5 or fewer trucks that in many respects are viewed as independent contractors or true owner-operators. You have owner-operators that work for agency-based companies where you have an agent, you have a company in between, and then you have the owner-operator, and the company acts as that agent. Landstar, of course, the company acts as the middleman, Landstar being the one that's most common. You have other people here that literally work under somebody else's authority, and a company has a mix of company trucks and owner-operator trucks. The value proposition of the owner-operator in that last example is I provide you extra capacity, generally at a cost-effective rate with much less risk. Because when a company goes out and buys equipment and pays for an employee and all the costs that come associated with maintaining their trucks, there's risk involved with that. And an owner-operator gets the advantage of not necessarily having to pull all their freight because it's non-forced dispatch, but the company's gain in that is I take on less risk. In a perfect world, those two worlds will blend, and they don't always blend naturally. The laws and the ever-changing environment, though, makes it harder in that last example to keep on bringing owner-operators to supplement their capacity. From a legal standpoint, it makes it challenging. My concern here is at a certain point that first wall falls and takes away the owner-operator that usually is getting their start as an owner-operator before they move on to a Landstar, a Bennett, or ultimately getting their own DOT number. Our industry is one of the easiest industries to really get into business. If you want to be an entrepreneur, our industry has a lot less roadblocks. So tomorrow, if you decided I want to compete against IBM or Microsoft in the IT field, good luck with that. Let's see how that plays out for you. On the flip side of it, you can get your authority. You can then go ahead and realistically, one truck is competing for freight with Swift or Schneider. That's kind of unique to our industry. That pathway starts as a company driver, and then you become an owner operator normally under somebody else's authority as you start working your way up the rungs. If you take away that foothold, you start seeing fewer and fewer people be able to eventually get their own authority and run as their own independent company. That's what I fear. It becomes a little more complicated or more of an expensive proposition because you end up having a step taken away from you. There's a number of companies that stopped bringing owner-operators out of California that took owner-operators because of AB5. I see, California with some of the more left-leaning laws tends to be a precursor by about a decade of things that come on a national scale, depending on administration agendas. That's what I fear, though, is that pathway to growing and becoming your own business is going to be, I won't say taken away, but it's going to be much harder to do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to see this shoe dropping. It seems, I don't want to say agenda. That's pretty tough. I do feel that they are trying to be protective, but I think it's going to work negatively. And because it's the government getting involved, by the time they see that it's negative, it's going to have gone too far. And it's going to take too much, even if not if, but when another administration gets in there, it's going to have gone too far and be ignored because everybody has other things that goes on. I don't see it going to be a good thing. I'm not saying that we don't need improvement. Trucking definitely needs some improvement. It definitely needs some eyes on it, and it needs some help. But I don't like that the help is coming from people that don't even know what a battery is in the truck.
Yep. And the challenge now that we have is a lot of this is going to be driven by Uber and Lyft and people trying to regulate that. And trucking will get those regulations not by design, but because we're classified as transportation like they are. And so some of the potential laws to come down the road aren't going to make a whole lot of sense for trucking. You could argue that they'd make sense for Lyft or Uber or other providers such as that. But the transportation industry, 1 out of every 6 workers in some form or fashion in this country works either directly or indirectly with the transportation industry. But that's a broad bucket. Transportation technically includes warehouse and taxi drivers and big truck drivers, Class 8 truck drivers and bus drivers. When I tell somebody I'm in transportation, that is a very vague term. Normally, if I'm talking to somebody like yourself in transportation, I'm much more specific. I work as a VP of recruiting at a large trucking company because you would understand, oh, okay, that has nothing to do with Uber or the city bus.
Yeah, they don't understand. I think that they need to have things definitely broken down, but even once it's broken down, then those departments need to talk to the other department. That's the issue. One department doesn't talk to the other department. Department of Labor doesn't communicate with nor work with Department of Transportation for real, and with the FMCSA. They don't. No systems work together, things like that. So that's what a breakdown is. And then, i.e., why they don't know trucking is part of transportation, transportation is part of logistics, logistics is part of supply chain.
Yep.
So that's just my take on it. Yeah. So
hey, I do have some good news. Fuel went down.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's more than good news. That is fantabulous news. Now, that is a word that Darcella is not going to be able to spell for the captions because she was able to spell shucking and jiving. She broke that down and told me that those both are 2 words. So she was able to spell that, but fantabulous, I want to see that is not a word, okay? Yeah, but diesel dropped from 4.8 to 3.8 a gallon.
I'll take that. I'd take it holding steady, but with it continuing to go down, that is a good sign. Again, the U.S. is producing a ton of oil right now at historic levels. So despite everything going on in the world at this moment, and despite the time of the year that we're in, the biggest factor lowering prices appears to continue to be about 16 million barrels of oil produced monthly by the U.S., which is definitely influencing the global market.
So I like to compare things because I don't know. The average price for diesel this time last year, we are 72.1 cent less now. That's pretty good. I mean, it doesn't mean I need to spend all my money, but that's pretty good.
When you consider everything going on globally right now and the complete disarray that we're in from a political standpoint, generally fuel's impacted by all those pieces of news. I would take that, because if you were to say that diesel was going to be 50 cents per gallon higher, nothing about that would surprise me, because there's a bunch of stuff pointing to that. This is purely based off of supply, and in the present freight environment, anything that can save people money is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. If nothing else, it just makes you feel better, and we need a feel good story. That's for sure, because like you said, everything is kind of to hell in a handbasket right now. So why don't we do this, Kayla? Give us a feel good commercial, and then we'll be back in 2 and 2. Chuck Woolery.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good regional job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. So I figured, why not do some hot jobs or hot areas? We've been doing pretty good. MBT. I mean, you being on this feature show, I think it's the blue background. Your mother's glow is coming out of you. But you got our phones just ringing off the hook. Is it your voice? What's going on? I mean,
well, I think today's going to be an exciting day. We got a lot of Texas opportunities to discuss today. I would say outside of the state of Texas. So if you live in Albuquerque, Salt Lake City, anywhere in Tennessee, Kentucky, around Little Rock, the Louisville area, St. Louis area, we have opportunities in your area. Feel free to give Rig on Wheels a call at 281-968-3100. We can discuss those opportunities. But our hot jobs today are going to be out of the state of Texas. We'll start with El Paso, where we're currently based out of, where I'm sitting at this moment. A couple of jobs that I'd share with you. We have Division 150. 150 is a unique job that will keep you in the Southeast U.S., South Central U.S. So you'll depart out of El Paso. You'll go to markets such as Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, all the way into the Southeast, and work your way back home on Division 150. It's a popular division for folks living out of El Paso, really more than anything because of the geography. You're never really going north of the Mason-Dixon line, so you're going to avoid a lot of the snow and the rains and the winds and the blizzards and everything else that the upper Great Lakes states might throw at you. So 150 is one of those opportunities that we currently have open at this moment. You're generally going to average about $1,500 a week with it. You're going to get weekly home time. Right here in El Paso, so you're going to see your dispatcher for that division every single day out of El Paso, Texas on Division 150. Out of San Antonio, as an example, San Antonio and Laredo, and I would say Dallas-Fort Worth. We're going to go, and Houston. We're going to go with Division 329. Division 329 basically allows you to stay in eastern Texas, southern Oklahoma. You're home weekly, so you're out 5 to 6 days, get home every single week. With that division on 329, a lot of drop and hook, a lot of north-south runs in that running area. And with 329, you're generally, if I look at what the current fleet's averaging right now, continue to be around $1,500 to $1,800 a week. That's based off of experience. So those people that are making $1,800 plus a week end up being able to do that because they have 2 years of experience. But we will take anybody with at least 6 months of experience, late model equipment, no endorsements needed, a bunch of drop and hook opportunities on this 329 division. So if you live in Laredo, you live in Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, or Houston, it's an opportunity for you that you'll stay near the house. You'll get weekly home time, great equipment, lots of drop and hook, and you'll never be asked to touch freight. So out of El Paso, it's going to be Division 150. If you're out of Laredo, Houston, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, I'd give us a call at 281-968-3100, and let's see what we can do to move forward with your career and create a long-term opportunity for you.
Super fantastic. I got a question. Out the 150, how far in El Paso do the radius, higher in radius?
100 miles. So if you live in places like Van Horn, Las Cruces, anywhere in that vicinity of a 100-mile radius of El Paso, we would definitely look at a candidate out of that market.
And for 329, what's the radius for those folk?
Same thing. So if you're within 100 miles of San Antonio, so theoretically you could be in Austin, Texas. That is within that hiring range. Out of Laredo, you could be all the way out in Zapata, which is about 75 miles away. Even have opportunities at hiring out of Del Rio as well. And then Houston, primarily most of our opportunities out of Houston circulate out of northern Houston, the New Caney area. So you'll see a lot of opportunities if you live on the north side of Houston, Spring, the Woodlands, Magnolia, even down further south like Katy, or on the east side like Deer Park. But we have some drivers that also live out of Pasadena and Friendswood.
Okay, cool.
Thankfully, I know my Houston geography.
Yes, you do. And so Nemmer, that driver that Marcus referred to out of Houston, give him a call because the 329 is back open. So Pierson just told you. And he'll be able to make a minimum of $1,500 a week. So that's $75,000 a year. And be home on a weekly basis, Nemmer. So as soon, definitely give him a call or text him right now so you can send him the Rig on Wheels Intella app. I had to tell her that right quick.
I don't mind.
Because I know she's watching. Okay, so that is good. Now, do we have anything cooking else that you wanted to tell us? Somewhere else?
The other part of this, and so we have a couple dedicated opportunities coming down the road here out of the New Caney area. It's why that specific location kind of stands to mind at this moment. So one of the things to keep in mind before we ever open up dedicated opportunities to the general fleet, trust me, in recruiting, I would love it. It's a lot easier to sell to a prospective driver. But we generally promote from within. So as an example, if we were to pick up a dedicated opportunity, wink, wink, out of the west side of DFW on the Fort Worth side of the Metroplex, what we generally do is go to our current 329 and 330 drivers that are, have no late deliveries, execute well, and go, hey, we have a dedicated opportunity that came up. Would this be something that interested you? Same thing in Houston. So if we picked up a dedicated account on the north side of Houston, we generally go to those 329 and 330 drivers, offer it to them first, and then whatever is not taken, we then offer to the outside world in this type of format. So keep in mind here that from a career progression perspective, there are other things coming down the pipe. But if you want to be first in line for those other things, this is the time to join. A lot of times, if you sit and wait for a dedicated opportunity with us to come up, you're going to be too late to the party because people have filled it through the current divisions. So now would be the time to act, and you are next in line for those opportunities.
Okay, super fantastic. I am pretty excited. This is my excited face. It's my upset face too. But just know that this is my excited face. I'm very excited. So, like Pierson said, give us a call at 708-28, not 708. 281-968-3100. 281-968-3100. Or go directly to our website at rigonwheels.com and fill out the Intella app, and one of the recruiters will get back to you ASAP. Okay, fill it out completely. The the more completely you have it filled out, it allows us to be able to get back with you more rapidly, of course. So it's very important that you fill it out, completely, because everything, think about it as a recruiter, if your application is partially filled out, that is just an inquiry. For the driver that has it filled out completely, we're able to see it, see what's going on, give you a call and fill in anything that needs to be filled in. So just think about it like that. So definitely take time and get everything filled in appropriately. All right. Anything else that you wanted to mention when it comes to hot jobs or areas or anything like that?
No, but like I said, we do hire outside of the state of Texas. And so if you're somebody that's living in Albuquerque, Salt Lake, St. Louis, anywhere in Tennessee, anywhere in Kentucky, or even Little Rock, Arkansas, we have current openings. There's definitely good openings with good home time, great equipment. So though you may not have heard a division that applies to you, be sure to give a call there and inquire, because we do have opportunities in those markets as we speak.
Okay, perfect. Kayla, do we have any questions pending?
Not at this time.
Okay, all right. So I didn't want to ignore any questions since we was 20 minutes in or so. All right, okay, great. So what I wanted to do is go to commercial, and we be back in two, and then we will go over what you want to do. What you want to do? You want to talk about?
Let's talk about the equipment.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go to the commercial with the tall human. And I saw a thing on Instagram with him talking with you all's new channel.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So let's go ahead and play his commercial with him in the condo and everything. Kayla, please.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LT. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick and mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MBT the place to be.
Thanks, everybody. Okay. Those are some nice trucks. I remember talking to my friend Delmont today, and we was talking about MBT's trucks. Okay, he doesn't work for MBT, but he out of North Carolina. He was talking about MBT's trucks because he was at a truck stop, and somebody was talking to him about MBT's truck. So you could take it away.
Yeah, look, the universal thing between all drivers, I don't care how good a driver you are, if you don't have the tools to do the job, you will not be successful. So we understand that as much as on this podcast and show, we talk about the qualities that you as a driver bring, you have to have the tools in order to be successful. The International LT gets great fuel economy. It's very low maintenance. And with our relationship with Penske, if it ever goes down, you won't be down for long. We have a working relationship with Penske as our partner and truck provider. So as an example, when we run on our engineered lanes that we talk about, or our divisional lanes on preset running lanes, Penske has continuous spots that we can stop if something ever goes wrong, or God forbid, if the truck's going to be down during a long period of time, has backup trucks that can keep you moving. Those trucks are spacious, they're comfortable, low maintenance, and at the end of the day, they give our drivers the resources to do some of the things that they do in our industry that's somewhat unique. In an industry where we average, as an industry, 6.5 miles a gallon, we average close to 9.5. The truck plays a major role in that. We have fantastic on-time delivery performance, over 99% at a lot of our shippers at this moment. That truck's reliability is what allows a professional driver to do their job and execute at that high level. So can't emphasize enough, between the APU, the outlets to make sure you're comfortable, there's sleeper berth space. You know, a lot of sleepers for regional driving are that 56-inch sleeper berth, but we do the 71-inch sleeper berth, basically a sleeper that's meant for a team, but for a solo driver, that gives you the ability to be comfortable. So when you're on your 10 hours, you're able to be comfortable. With that said, it's a great truck. We call them the Blue Beasts. One of our strong suits that we put up against anybody is our International LTs. We're in the process right now of actually ordering 600 brand new International LTs, probably in May of this year. So you will see that our average age of truck's about 1.5 years, which is unusual for really a regional carrier. Most OTR carriers are averaging about 1.5 years. But in our niche, where most companies are going to have 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old trucks, ours are going to average about 1.5 years. So we give you the equipment to be successful, because like I said, it doesn't matter how good a driver you are if you aren't given the tools to be successful. And that's where the truck comes into it. It's an integral part of it that all 1,900 of our drivers rely heavily on.
So those 600 trucks, I know the answer, but I'm, just in case I'm about to get lucky. So those 600, you going to switch them out, or are you adding 600 to the fleet?
Oh, we're going to switch them out. Right now, given the current freight environment, we do not want to put our drivers in a bad spot. With that said, you got to keep trucks maintained. In a world right now that, look, our industry is in a bit of a freight recession, and you'll start seeing a lot of companies cut corners and push truck orders back. At the end of the day, that costs companies more money. They do save money in the near term, but as their maintenance expenses start going up and their driver turnover goes up because the equipment stinks, they end up spending more in the long run. It is a wise investment to keep your equipment up to date. If you're going to retain the best drivers in the industry, you have to give them a truck that says you're one of the best drivers in the industry.
That's part of what Delmont and I were talking about earlier. He's 20 years in. Trucking is basically his first job out of high school. So that's, that old country boy, that's basically what we were talking about today, was if you want the one of the main things that companies forget is the truck maintenance. And now it's so many avenues than before. It wasn't as many avenues when it came to truck maintenance 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Now you have so many options years ago, it wasn't a thing like switching trucks out like that.
Yep.
You know, the whole system that Penske has, or other companies too, but let's talk about Penske because that's the one I know of that does that as well. Those options weren't there years ago, as they're more common now. Not saying that that's the only way, but trucking companies have that as an option. And so that's something that a driver can actually feel good and comfortable with, because if those wheels ain't turning, the drivers ain't earning. And that's the honest to goodness truth. If the wheels ain't turning, the drivers ain't earning. So that's one thing. If your equipment is hot garbage, your drivers are not going to earn nothing, and they know that.
And most drivers understand. Look, I talked to a driver or a company that has about 50 trucks earlier this week, and they had a couple trucks that are 8 years old, and they go, we can't get a driver to stay in that truck. And I saw what the truck looked like, and I go, I'm sorry, but any good driver is looking at it and you're insulting them. You're literally setting them up that they're going to have days lost every year because of maintenance issues. That driver is valuable. Just like you think of your equipment and squeezing every dollar you can, that driver has to squeeze every dollar they can out of their available hours. And if you don't give them the resources to do that, you're asking them to basically be a charity case for you. And I don't know any driver, I don't care what the environment is, that wants to be a charity case for somebody.
And I'm not trying to be funny or down anybody, you know. And I know it's 2024, new year, new me, but I'm the same on me, you know. I didn't do the whole new year, new me thing. So here we go. So when your truck is old like that and you running this old equipment, I can see if we dealing with intermodal and they going on a rail yard and stuff like that. That's different, you know. That's a whole different other story. But when you have very old equipment and things like that, you need to be dealing with drivers that need third and fourth and fifth chances. You don't need to be dealing with drivers that are more premium drivers that you are actually trying to retain, drivers that other companies are trying to fight for. Other than that, when you have old equipment, you literally need to be the trucking company that is going after the drivers that nobody else wants. You need to be the trucking company, not that is the second chance company, that is actually the fourth chance company, that the driver just needs to be there for a very short time to get his career back to going so he can then go to a second chance company, which is a company that somebody can go to before they go to a company like MVT. That is really what that is. And as a third-party recruiter, that is how I literally talk to carriers to let them know that when your equipment is old and worn and things like that, just as long as you know that a driver that comes to you is a driver that no one else takes and no one else wants. Just as long as you know.
Sometimes it helps to have a very honest conversation. You know, everyone wants to tell, you know, little white lies, little whispers, but every once in a while you have to be honest. And if you want to hire and retain the best drivers possible, you have to give them a good truck. You have to be fair in how you operate them. You have to be forthright and honest about how they're going to run with you. You have to give them long-term career development opportunities, because most people don't want to do the same thing forever and ever and ever. And if you can't be honest about that, that's one of the things that we try to focus on here. And I have a saying that I tell a lot of folks: it's okay to say your baby's ugly if you're going to fix it. So it's good to self-reflect, get better at what you do as a company. And if you're willing to say, let's give our baby some plastic surgery here, which, trust me, do not take parenting advice from me whatsoever, but let's give our baby some plastic surgery here. And that's where you end up making improvements. And a lot of carriers still today don't have those honest discussions. And so it's how you'll see carriers that have crappy equipment or don't understand that when drivers broke down 4 out of every 30 days, you know, why they don't stay.
Absolutely. And that 4 out of 30 days, that's a domino effect. You lose your apartment. Heck, you lose your cell phone that the bill is only $100. That's literally how you lose yourself. That's what that is right there. So let's go to Kayla. Any questions?
Yes, thank you for asking. Actually, I do have a question asking about what kind of tech do you have in the truck? And is it up to date?
Yep. We have a communications. We have a communication system called Platform Science. It gives a lot of information, and we're going to be expanding on what it does. So as an example, it has active communication. You'll get weather updates. You'll literally be in constant communication. Now, with that said, our dispatchers will always still take a phone call. We have 24/7, 365 available dispatch operations. Your fleet manager is more than happy to talk to you and often would prefer to. With that said, the in-cab communications through Platform Science will be able to allow that ongoing communications, weather updates, helpful information. There's communications. Our Rolling Strong system, which is our driver health component of the company, is generally releasing information on it. So really strong from a communication standpoint. It also observes a lot of technology. And so there may be something wrong with your truck that you may not be aware of because you don't hear a tinging and nothing really appears to be wrong. But the truck definitely talks to that in-cab communications. So as you come through the terminal, we know that, hey, you have a potential maintenance issue coming up. Lastly, one of the things that's going to be coming in the very near future is some more detailed turn-by-turn logistics. I always will tell a driver, do pre-planning, figure out which direction you're going to be going from point A to point B. But in-cab communications is the strong suit with more in the way of navigations coming in the very near future.
Awesome.
I like that. I like that. That new tech. Anything with new technology that's going to make things more efficient. I'm all about exploring anyway. So, but to make things more efficient for the two end people. So that's going to be the three. Let's talk about that, right? So the person, the end customer at home or the business, the shipper, and then the driver. That's amazing. I like that. So
I will also say too, so when it comes to in-cab communications, because we do get the question kind of often, not everybody has the same level of computer savvy. So you have some drivers, as an example, that literally get on the system in orientation and 20 minutes later go, got it, let's run. You have other folks that learn differently because they need more one-on-one time. So a major part of our orientation, though, is the in-cab communication system called Platform Science. And with that said, we do both group study as well as individual studies. And so if you're a person that, look, if you could, you'd still be running paper logs, and your strong suit is not the in-cab communications, just know part of our orientation is one-on-one, where a trainer will physically sit with you and how to operate the system. And it's a lot like riding a bike. Once you get on there and once you start physically using it, you don't forget it.
I like it. I have a confession. I don't know how to ride a bike, but I do get the analogy.
I will use a different metaphor next time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. But I get it. I've heard that all my life, but I always think, can we do something different? I've never ridden a bike, but I get it.
A unicycle?
A tricycle, none of that. Yeah, no. But I get it. It's cute. I think it's
like driving a four-wheeled car. You once you drive a four-wheeled car, you're good to go.
I'm good to go. But you've been in the car with me. It goes very slowly.
You're proficient, though. You technically follow every law of the road.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Kayla, anything else? Anyone else?
I got another one pertaining to weather. How does MVT help drivers with weather conditions? What are updating drivers like for MVT?
Yeah, we have continuing and ongoing weather updates, in particular, depending on the area that you're operating. So we watch that very closely, and it's apropos given the current weather conditions of this week. There's a large swath of the country that was intermediately or directly hit by weather. those updates are fed. We have continuous weather updates that get shared both in cab via the platform science system, as well as fleet managers also physically calling to check on drivers, give updates on weather updates, in particular when it's going to be severe. The other part of that from a safety perspective is we are very honest with our drivers. We want you to be a hero, but we don't want you to be a hero at times. And so as an example, if you don't feel safe driving on the road, our shippers understand it. Our big piece is communicating with our shippers that they could expect delays in their deliveries. So we definitely communicate with it. And in the event that you ever do get stuck in inclement weather, we want all of our drivers to do the professional thing. We'll communicate with our shippers. And we are very fortunate. We have shippers that get the same weather updates as we do. So when you say, hey, I'm not going to be able to safely go down the road, I have a light load, the wind might push me around a little bit, I'd rather not take that chance. We trust your expertise on the road and communicate with the shippers. They have that same data to come to that conclusion as well, as long as we communicate.
Awesome. Because I was thinking about that yesterday, especially with the weather being so bad, and I cannot tell you, that I know of, as long as my eyes was open last night, and I do go sleep early, but we had at least 10 trucks that came up on the web, the news app thing, that got in accidents yesterday, whether it was jackknife, hanging off the highway. You know, cars are good for hanging off the highway here in Houston. It's like a thing we do. And so jackknife, hanging off the highway, or rollovers. It was like gruesome stuff. It wasn't like just a rear end, which is terrible, but it was like jackknife, hanging off the highway, and rollovers. So how would that, what would happen there? Not the accident part, but prior to, what should have been the communication, whether it be the dispatcher, driver, kind of tell us there.
Yeah, so generally speaking, here in the case of, let's use Houston as an example. We know we are able to see anybody that is within a certain radius of a weather event. So based off that radius, you're going to get information that, hey, be on the lookout. You're coming up on, it could be a storm warning, it could be a high wind warning, it could be a combination of a number of different things. And the challenge is most people think of snow, and though snow can be inclement, the biggest driving factor in the world of trucking has to be wind. And wind can happen at all sorts of temperatures. But when you're going down the road and you have a trailer that's broad and can take a lot of wind, as much as we like light loads or empty trailers, as an example, can blow you all over the place if the wind is surprisingly above 35 miles an hour, depending on the weight of the trailer. So that generally is going to happen proactively. We get the same weather updates that are released to the general public. We want to make sure you have visibility on that. So if you're going into Houston, let's say I was on a run from Laredo to Houston last night, I would have been getting those alerts as I'm going up. What is that, I-69 that comes up through there? I would have been getting those alerts saying, be prepared, inclement weather, make plans if need be, if road conditions change. We generally have multiple drop yards in the areas that we run, which makes parking a little easy. But sometimes you can't make it to a drop yard, and wind picks up dramatically, if you live in Texas, those storms tend to creep up quickly. Houston would be a good example of that, where the weather radar looks fine, and an hour later, it's covered in green and red and all sorts of flashes. That's one of those where we want to get parked and proactively do it ahead of time. So that's the other thing that we ask drivers to do. If you're on the road and you know there's a chance 50-50, I may need to come off the road in the coming hours, pre-plan out where you can stop. Do that in advance. Don't wait for the storm to get there. Look, if the storm doesn't come, you know where to park, but you didn't have to. We much rather you look at your map and understand that 3-4 hours in advance so you can prepare, because you are not the only driver on the road that's going to need to take aversive action.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because we do something as recruiters. When I know that the weather is going to be insane, you know, we do something. So I always try to be prepared, and being a recruiter, and we give recruiting tips. So just like we give drivers tips, I want to give realistic recruiting tips, especially for the ones that work from home. And even if you don't work from home, and this could be a tip for anybody, you know, your dishwasher, that is one thing that's typically not destroyed. And we live in Houston, and we like to flood here, and tornadoes and every other natural disaster. So your important papers we put in a dishwasher. You know, your credit cards, your birth certificate, all your important papers we always put in a dishwasher. And like I told everybody, stop working, make sure you put your important papers in the dishwasher. And like my divorce certificate or whatever it's called, divorce papers, I made sure I put it in there. I said, because just in case the courthouse blows away, they're not gonna say I'm still married. So like, but literally you do that. So you make sure those same type of survival tips. So I just wanted to know, like, what is it that MVT specifically does for the driver? Because like, I know you have parking for your driver, but these are those, you know, moments that doesn't count, because this is nature.
Yeah, the biggest thing is communication on that front, though. I can't emphasize it enough. We want you to be, and you're driving, so it's not like you can sit and look at the weather radar all day long. That's where we come into play. We are those eyes on the weather radar at all times. So there was with the weather across the country last night, there was a large percentage of our fleet that got weather updates routinely last night because of that fact. Because you need to, whenever possible, you need to have a good 3-4 hours warning so you can pre-plan out what your next steps are, God forbid, if the worst happens.
Absolutely. Okay, so I want to go ahead and go to the next segment, but go to this commercial with the nice looking gentleman that won the car because of his great fuel. So if you could definitely put him on the commercial, that'd be super fantastic, because I love how MBT coaches their drivers when it comes to this, and put their money where their mouth is, and they get cars and money and all type of great stuff. So Kayla, can you throw him up there for us?
Mi nombre es Carlos Vázquez, tengo trabajando 3 años aproximadamente y somos B1 y andamos en territorio de Estados Unidos. Lo que me gusta de MBT es que tiene buenos viajes, buenos camiones y muy buenas millas. Mi comunicación con los despachos es muy buena y todo eso, y siempre están a la orden del día. ¿Qué pienso del equipo de los camiones? Pues que están muy bien y les dan sus mantenimientos, sus PO y todo lo demás, alineación y balanceo, todo, cambio de llantas y excelente servicio. La compañía cada trimestre regala un auto para los operadores. Me motiva pues a crecer más como persona y para dar el 100, como dicen, para la compañía.
Thanks for coming back, everybody. Thanks for coming back. Okay, so I want Pierson to go through it for us, but don't forget to talk about the leaderboard.
Absolutely. So we do a unique thing when it comes to the MPG structure here. We focus a lot on fuel economy. As I said in the last segment, we're in an industry where we average about 6.5 miles a gallon, but our company averages about 9 to 9.5 miles a gallon. That is not luck. That's a combination of driver behavioral patterns, drivers improving on what they do, getting better at what they do, working with their fleet manager, Penske, and the equipment that they operate, as well as a department called Driver Services, as far as advancing your skill set to get the best fuel economy possible. When we do that, whoever has the best fuel economy for the quarter gets a brand new car. It's one of the things we've done every quarter going years now at this point. The team that won it last quarter had been with us and in the industry for only 9 months, but averaged about 12.6 miles a gallon. Before that, the person that won it had been with us 20 years and averaged 12.4 miles a gallon. Comes from all walks of life, can do this, all different divisions. The key caveat to that is to have the best fuel economy for a quarter, and you know where you rank versus your peers. There's a leaderboard that's fully visible in multiple terminals across the company's network that allows you that visibility of seeing where you rank. Are you bottom, middle, top? If you're somewhere in the middle, let's see if we can't work together to get you in that upper tier so that you have a chance at it the following quarter. Let's make sure your truck is taken care of and able to do that and work on the behavioral patterns on the road that make all the difference. The person with the best MPG over the course of the year, though, gets a cool $25,000. We do it every quarter on the car. We do it once a year on the $25,000 bonus. Unlike most companies that celebrate driver appreciation 1 week in September, we do it 4 times a year, though I argue it should be 365 days a year, which we focus on. But at that, we give away the car. So if you have the best MPG bonus, you get a brand new car. In this case, the one next quarter is a 2023 Nissan Sonata, less than 100 miles on it. And can't wait to see who wins the $25,000 for 2023. That should be coming up next quarter as well.
I like that. But I really like how, you all have a whole department that helps coach the drivers and works together to just work for the company goal, work for the driver goal. That's pretty awesome. So it's not just a week in the year that really the drivers don't even participate in because they're out on the road. So it's really just the people in the office.
Yeah, one of the things that I find frustrating in this industry, and I know a lot of drivers do, is it feels like when you get hired to be a truck driver and you go to a company, ABC Trucking, it's stagnant. Once you've been hired on and you're running the same lanes, there's nowhere to go. Essentially, the job there 5 years later is going to be the same. We're big believers in that career development path and getting better and moving on to bigger and better things. So it may be that you have a certain career path you want to follow. Hey, someday I'd like to be a trainer and make $120,000 to $150,000 a year training the next generation of drivers. How do I work towards that? I might want to get into a lease program. I might want to, leave that job and get into a sweet dedicated deal. Or I might want to become a fleet manager. I might want to get into upper management within the company. How do I have that goal? And that's one of the things we focus on with all of our drivers is what I hire you for today, your life is going to change. And 5 years from now, it may be the addition of another kid in your house. You got married. You decided, boy, I need more from my job. I want to do something different. And so that's where between the fleet manager and that driver services department, we can sit down with you and understand, what do you want to do beyond just this job? What's important to you? What matters to you? Is it money? Is it accomplishments? We all have things that we want to do. If any of us shut our eyes and look forward 5 years, we envision certain things we want to do. A driver is no different than you and I in that same process. We're one of the few companies that I've seen out there that realistically focus and put a lot of effort on that. We're in a business that's so week to week, and we're trying to survive and make it every single week, that for a lot of drivers, they go to a company and it's how they get into that term where they go, I feel like a number and not a name, because they become a resource. Instead of a coworker, they're viewed as a resource, just like you'd look at the truck. The important thing to remember is just outside my door, there's an administrative assistant. There's a couple of recruiters out here. That truck driver, just like they are my coworker. They're not a resource. They're not, automated. They're a human being like you and I. And so that career development path becomes really important. I'd expect it from my career. Somebody on the road is no exception to that.
I connected with this guy on LinkedIn yesterday, and when I looked at his work history years ago, he was a truck driver for 10 years and then worked his way up, and now he's like a VP of something. I forget what it was, but purchasing, I think it was. But that was pretty cool, to see that. He was a driver for 10 years. And then start working his way up. So that's part of the testament right there. I really like that. So with that being said, if you are a driver and you're looking for a new job, whether it be with MVT, hopefully, or someone else, we do start with recruiting drivers that have at least 3 months experience. If you're looking for a job with MVT, it's 6 months experience. If you are a team or have a team and already have a teammate, it's 6 months experience. But if you do have a team, and one of you guys have quite a bit of experience and the other one doesn't have as much experience, we will be able to review you if you have less. The one does have less than 6 months experience. So give us a call at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, or go directly to our website at rigonwheels.com and fill out the Intella app, and we'll definitely get back to you. So go ahead and fill it out completely for us, and we'll get back to you. We are here next week, live and in living color, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Did you have something else you wanted to add, Pierson?
No, I'm good to go. You've said it all.
I said a whole mouthful. Oh, I thought that was funny. All right,
If you keep doing the 2 and 2 thing, though, I'm going to start feeling obligated to tell you about my blind date. So, yeah, we got to get past that part of it.
But Pierson, them blind dates are over for Pierson, guys. He's been married since before Christ, so that was a long time ago, okay? His blind date times was a long time. All right, so we'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, 3 p.m. Go ahead and follow us on whatever platform it is you're seeing us on right now. Thanks. See you guys next week.